special Mother's Day offers. Clicks, feel good, pay less.
KwaZulu-Natal is counting the cost of last month's deadly flooding in which at least 435 lives were lost. It wasn't the first and won't be the last deluge to hit the region. So, if climate experts are telling us that extreme weather is only set to become more frequent, what is there to learn from this national disaster? It's 8 days after a torrential downpour hit the city of Durban. An informal settlement in Reservoir Hills bears deep scars from the recent floods. The search and rescue teams have been here for the past 24 hours. They've found a man's body which they're trying to retrieve. There's another team a little bit further down that is trying to find a young girl's body who they say was washed down the river. So one can't even begin to think where the families are going to start when a tragedy like this has befallen them. The rain started all along the KwaZulu-Natal coast on the 8th of April. As the storm developed, the South African Weather Service upgraded it to a level 9 warning, a severe event which carries the threat of flooding. The volume of water was so immense that some described it as a water bomb. Marshall Security's community leader, 𝗀𝗧𝗵𝗶𝘆, defied the elements to warn people.
And as you can see, I'm here on the beachfront. It's absolutely torrential downpour as the coast is being hit by a massive downpour of rain. The weather conditions are starting to change.
The damage is in the order of billions of rands. Roads and bridges washed away, houses collapsed, hundreds of schools impacted. The harbour was closed and the N2 highway turned into a river with shipping containers cascading over each other and sliding onto the road, buoyed by the force of the floodwaters. Climatologist Professor 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘀 Engelbrecht heads the Global Change Institute at Wits University.
On the 11th of April, we recorded 300 millimeters of rain in a 24-hour period over a large area stretching from Margate in the south to the north of Durban. Now that's exceptional. So for an April flood event, this was most certainly unprecedented.
The government declared a state of disaster in the province. 40,000 people were left homeless. At least 435 lives were lost. Many families are still looking for missing loved ones.
Have you guys got water and hydration up there?
The police created a search and rescue tactical center at Virginia Airport. From all over the country, volunteers came. Colin Diner leads the team from the Western Cape. Seeing what has happened here, can you recall having done this at this scale anywhere else?
I've attended disasters for about 30 years, and this is the worst I've seen in South Africa. I've actually been to the earthquake and tsunami in Japan in 2011, and some of the sites that we've seen reminded me of that.
Is it that bad, Colin?
It's that bad.
The homes along this river were illegally built and the force of the flood decimated dwellings, tossing cars about like matchboxes. So what were you hearing? What Benizwane, was it making a loud noise?
Sasivele sakhe endaweni namatshe but ngendlela eqhamuka ngayo kwangewona amatshe aqhamuka la. Amatshe is like aseqhamuka le phezulu ayehla
arola nje azana.
So the time imvula iza namatshe itshe ngesikhathi libloka amanzi ayalokhuza phezulu ayiphusha zonke izindlu.
For 12 years, this had been Musintuli's home in Reservoir Hills. He's the leader of about 100 families in the valley. 57 had their homes damaged. His own was wiped out. He owns nothing more than the clothes on his back.
Yeah, we are female is safe noma now. You get athi kumuka kancane namanzi but kusheshe kwalungiseka yashesha yawazi ukuphuma.
And all I heard was screaming, "Get out, get out." And as I turned and I came up the stairs, I just saw this horrendous amount of mud coming towards me.
Donald Perry and his son-in-law, 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘀, had minutes to evacuate their properties in 𝗀𝗁𝗆𝗃.
I remember running into the house shouting, everybody has to get out now. Grab the kids, grab the dogs. Remember my wife shouting to get out, and yeah.
Where are the kids at this time? What are they thinking? What's going on?
My son was still running around in his Spider-Man suit inside the house. Yeah, crazy.
Durban has a long history of storms and floods dating as far back as the 19th century. The floods this year were caused by torrential rains and a massive storm, which authorities have described as one of the worst in this country's history. Although flooding is part of the natural cycle for KwaZulu-Natal, Professor 𝗀𝗍𝗃𝗏 believes global warming intensified the recent weather system.
If we look at the long-term statistics, there is very clear evidence that the number of intense rainfall events are increasing. So the statistics are telling us here a very clear picture of a changing climate system in Southern Africa.
Although South Africa committed to reducing carbon emissions under the 2016 Paris Agreement, the government is still actively pursuing a fossil-fueled future. As the lead author on the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, Professor 𝗀𝗍𝗃𝗏 says the global temperature has already increased by 1.1 degrees Celsius. At 1.5 degrees Celsius, the impact is permanent.
We run the risk of initiating the irreversible melting of both the Greenland ice sheet and the West Antarctic ice sheet. That means that by the end of the century, we will have to deal with sea level rise in the order of 1 meter. And that is enough to displace hundreds of millions of people during the course of this century.
Acting eThekwini city manager 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗆 says the city is following set protocols for extreme weather events.
We do have a disaster management plan which stipulates exactly what we need to do in terms of disaster situation. So we follow to the T the provisions of that plan. But of course, we were overwhelmed.
Many of eThekwini's stormwater drains were blocked, and this led to torrents of water that damaged some properties.
We also have a huge issue of stormwater drains that aren't being serviced.
The issue of blocking of stormwater management infrastructure is really caused by a number of factors, but the main ones are, of course, the litter challenge. That is the human behavior, but it doesn't necessarily reflect a bad planning at that level. The solution to that, Mek, really, in my view, will be to tighten enforcement interventions.
Donald Perry believes that the municipality should already have revised regulations to accommodate extreme weather events. The coastal belt consists of hills and sand dune soil and inclines prone to landslides. Perry admits that this flood was unprecedented, but believes the torrent of mud that destroyed his properties resulted from exposed soil above his home.
We often sit around now, night after night, thanking the man above that we got out, and our thoughts are with those that didn't.
The Perrys and their 87-year-old grandmother got out alive. Her home lies in ruins in the canyon. Musintuli's Reservoir Hills community wasn't as lucky. The city believes the death rate is as high as it is because of rapid urbanization. Homes built as close as possible to job opportunities. In 1994, Durban had 120 informal settlements. Today, over 550.
But one of the biggest problems as well is that people are living in, where there are floodlines. What is the city doing to prevent that?
So the solution, Mac, we need to go high-rise as far as we can. But that is the only way we can help densify and limit a possibility of people settling on the riverbanks and floodplains. Somebody was telling me, Mac, immediately after the storms along Umgeni River, people are starting to rebuild there again. They are starting to rebuild because they don't have an option. But we need to aggressively start expropriating parcels of land, ensure that we harness the speed of building so that we give people opportunities not to go back to those places.
8 days after being swept away by the storm, the the search and rescue team finally frees the body of a man trapped in Musi's village. With quiet reverence, they give families time to say goodbye. As the body leaves the valley for the last time, a baby wails. The 8-year-old girl is still missing.
These guys are the real superheroes, I guess, because nobody else wants to go in there. And just hearing that child's cry as they retrieve that body and the family walking off, I'll never be able to describe to anyone what that was like.
Thank you for watching our stories here online, and please subscribe below to become part of our YouTube community and be notified when we upload our latest content.